Hello, I'm William Gallagher and this is 58 Keys Writing Workshop set of videos. I'm a writer, you're a writer, I tell you how I happen to write things, and you, please, disagree with me in the comments. No point, otherwise has to be a conversation. And in this case, actually, you could start by telling me if you think I over-like something. Is that a phrase? Even if do I like something too much? I'm conscious there are issues with it. The thing is, this time there's a phrase called putting a clock on something, putting a clock on it. And what it means is adding a time constraint, I suppose. I mean, the obvious thing is you've got 30 seconds to defuse the bomb or the world blows up. You know, something subtle like that. Actually, related, but you put it in my mind. The other day I read one of the Mission Impossible scripts from the original series, 1960s, which is a fascinating read for all sorts of reasons, but there was one where a bomb was going to go off somewhere in continental USA, and they knew it was going to go off in, I think, the next 20 hours, but job one was where in the whole of the US. And so that was a kind of geo clock thing, time and location problem, and actually it was quite gripping at the time. But back to just a clock. I said about over-liking something. You'll see why if you don't already have a strong opinion about this. When you put a timer on something, when you put a time constraint, it can add to the drama. Okay, the bomb is one example, fine. Got to get here by this. This person will be coming in at this time and you have to get out by that time, all this sort of, all the very obvious thrillery stuff. But the thing with this is that it isn't just for thrillers. The famous quote, except I can't remember the actual words, Alfred Hitchcock apparently said something once about how you could have a very boring dinner scene of two people just talking away, which actually is more my kind of film. But you could have that and it would be stunningly boring unless there's a bomb under the table. Okay? Suddenly, everything is charged, everything is tense, everything has an extra level of drama for it. But in that case, that depends on the viewer or the audience or the reader, whatever it is, knowing that the bomb is there and that the time is ticking away, and the characters not knowing it. That's one thing. And I'm trying to think, are there ways to do that more subtly than a bomb? Yes. You know, particularly if you have stories with multiple characters going on. I mean, I read a thing where two people were doing something, and in a completely unrelated story, you eventually learn that two other people had been sent off to see them. So you knew if the first thing didn't finish for it, it was going to be awkward, that's all. So not exactly highly dramatic, but it was a contrivance of timelines. A contrivance of timelines. That's a title. It's not a very good title, but it's a title. But you can use that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be a physical clock, doesn't have to be a countdown per se. However, let's say that it is a clock on it. This is on my mind to talk to you now very specifically because I just rewatched a favourite film. A film I've seen a few times, film I've read the script of many times of it, and it has a clock on it. I don't want to tell you what it is because it will spoil the ending, but it's such a small thing at first, and this is important. It's there's a man and a woman. The man has a certain amount of time to get to the airport to catch his flight home. That's it. We are told that in an extremely natural way. It's very easy to miss it, really. I mean, we're actually told, I think they do it 3 or 4 times within the space of a minute, and yeah, it's done really well. It's like you would ask this, that would be said, you would be told this. There was no sense of contrivance, but really, you got it. This guy, that airport, and I think they gave a time for it, and we weren't really sure what time we were now, but we knew it wasn't very long away, and off it goes for the entire plot of the film. And from time to time, there's a reference to it. A plan is changed, they rearrange something to make sure that he can get through all of this stuff. And this is the thing, I remember watching it the first time, becoming more and more tense. And I think I bet if that was me, because if you and I arrange to meet at a certain time, I will be there at that minute for it. I can't bear keeping anybody waiting for me for something. So there's a bit of me brought to this, but in general I still think it was nice and tense. There's all this really good stuff, great film, so much going on, utterly adore it, but also all the way through you're conscious this can't last, this must move on. They are going to risk him not going to the airport. And then, I mean, you know, plenty of films do this, plenty of novels do this in all sorts of ways, but this is the thing that just I so adored this. He doesn't get to the airport, he doesn't catch his flight. And I love subversion of a rule. You set up something and then you break it. Of course, there's something deliciously satisfying about that, and that was this here. But it wasn't in the way that you might think from that description. He wasn't disappointed for it. There wasn't a last-minute rush to the airport to see the plane going away. There just came a point where this is not going to happen, and this not happening was the right thing to happen. Yeah, good luck unfurling that sentence. I deeply, deeply admire it, and I can't even tell you the writers without giving away the film, and the film is too important to me to spoil it for you. But yes, there's a timer, yes, there's a clock, yes, it doesn't happen, he doesn't make the deadline, and that's delicious in so many ways. But there's also somehow this, in the moment, you and the two characters know about this. You realise he was never going to go for that aircraft. That was not the point of the story. The clock was almost a MacGuffin in that sense. Added tension, took us somewhere, gave us a spine for the story, that's another point, and delivered us to a point. Took us from this start to exactly where it was always going to go, and he was always not going to get that flight. Isn't it marvellous for it? In fact, actually, could you look away for a minute? Before sunset, okay? I'll put a link to the script, at least, in this, but I didn't tell you that, and don't tell anybody else, okay? But before, well, since I've mentioned the film now, it's hardly a thriller, it's a romance. I mean, I've said this before so many times, so many people, even on the street, and they've looked at me funnily. Romance and thrillers are incredibly similar, I think, and I love them both. And this is a tremendous example of film writing in this case, and use of a clock to do it. That's it. You can tell I'm a fan. So please, in the comments, are you going to go, yeah, like every film does this? What are you on about, or something? I'm sorry to give you that kind of accent there. I didn't mean to. Tell me seriously, do you ever use this? Do you love it as well? And are there any other ways we can make use of this? We've got setting up a bomb, just running a timetable, not succeeding for it. I like that. Yeah. But anyway, that's it for this edition of the 58 Keys Writing Workshop. Thank you very much for watching. Now, take care of yourself. Write more, including comments, and we can have a chat. And I'll see you soon.